very, very interesting approach towards managing innovation and the goals of banks. Banks usually do not talk about user experience and putting the customer, giving the customer the same experience that he would receive in Facebook and Apple. I love the way you presented this idea. So I want to call the next speaker, and the next speaker is from Amazon Web Services. It's Mark Rayland, the Director Office of the CISO. Mark, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I guess it's still morning. Yes, still morning. So we have 20 minutes together. I want to go through some material I hope you'll find interesting, talking about the impact of cloud computing on the financial services industry. Again, my name is Mark Ryland. I run a team directly under our Chief Information Security Officer, working with customers and customer engagements, and also some interesting internal projects as we build and operate the world's leading cloud platform. So you may not realize it, but we are very, very actively engaged in the financial services industry. The industry, as you know, is rapidly evolving. All kinds of new risks, new challenges, also great opportunities with the advent of big data and machine learning to begin to utilize massive amounts of data that financial services firms have accumulated, but haven't always been able to really leverage to gain the most business value from. And of course, one of the elements of, we all have this experience or this concept, the consumerization of IT. That means many things, but one of the things it means is that people have developed very high expectations of simplicity, ease of use, convenience, and they want that from all of the different organizations with which they do business. So the expectations are high, and the industry needs to meet those. Cloud is really becoming a major way in which financial services firms are meeting these new challenges. They've got to provide more capability with even increasing margin pressure, so get more for less dollars is one of the big challenges. Rising volumes of data, the realization that data should really never be deleted. How do you store it more or less permanently so you can always go and mine and learn from that data? And that's now a practical reality. We have many customers essentially who never delete anything because the storage costs are low and the analytics capabilities are high. Regulatory oversight obviously increasing all the time, but also new flexibility coming in. We'll talk more at the end about how we work with regulators around the world, and more of a sort of goal-oriented requirements around security and compliance rather than specific technical measures instead of measuring outcomes. And really, like most industries, lots of legacy technology that slows us down, that hinders adoption, that actually causes lots and lots of our security challenges. I mean, if you look at the history of security incidents across various industries, very often those are related to just lack of basic hygiene, lack of patching, lack of basic password management, multi-factor authentication, all the things that, not so much complex and sophisticated problems, but just not managing to do the basics in a reasonable way. And all these things are leading financial institutions to begin this journey to the cloud. So we have lots of customers already very active in these markets. So everything from Capital One, who's really going all in the US with the AWS cloud, a bunch of other icons and logos I think you'll recognize from financial services firms. We have a number of other customers who have been publicly speaking at some of our events. We don't have the logo rights. We're very respectful of customers who say, hey, I'm willing to talk publicly, but you can't use my brand. But I would strongly recommend that you go and look for financial services firms at our reInvent presentations from our big conference last November, as well as a recent London summit where a major financial institution was on stage talking about the use of our serverless computing architecture for building new applications. This goes across everything from bankings and payment. For example, N26 is a German bank, a startup that's completely based in the cloud 100%, providing banking services to a new generation of users on mobile and web platforms. Capital markets, lots of use cases and lots of users across those businesses, as well as insurance and many other segments related to financial services. In fact, if you look at the numbers, 80% of the globally systemically important banks are customers of AWS. Lots and lots of banks really getting going. Now again, some of this is early days for some customers, others are more advanced, but it seems like an inevitable trend that people will modernize and build new systems, new applications using the power of cloud computing. FinTechs, the financial technology firms, lots and lots of startups, lots of new ventures from existing firms, and 50% of the top 50 in this space, 100% are using AWS. Now, it's not just AWS. When we talk about the Amazon cloud, we're also talking about a really massive partner ecosystem. So lots and lots of partners. Again, everything from startups to very established firms who help different financial institutions build new systems, build new applications, migrate, do all the things that are necessary to take advantage of the functional capability, the cost benefits, the flexibility, and the agility of cloud. Blockchain obviously is a hot topic these days, and AWS is proud to be home to a number of the leading blockchain providers, again providing that capability that they need for building and running their businesses. Now this is all well and good, except you might say, well, what is this cloud thing? Is it a secure platform? And you know, this is a business obviously from the start. When we developed this concept of pay-as-you-go, multi-tenanted architecture, it's a new abstraction, and it's very natural people have concerns like what exactly is happening, what's happening under the covers, how can I know this is safe and secure? But we've been on a journey now over 10, 11 years now we've been in business, and I would say 3 or 4 years ago we really turned the corner where people became very comfortable with our designs, our architectures. We had developed a really strong track record and been able to prove both through experience but also through a very elaborate set of compliance regimes under which we operate. So there's a huge number of third-party auditors that have access to our infrastructure, access to our data centers, access to our source code, our people, our processes. These auditors review those things according to the compliance program that they're responsible for, everything from a PCI auditors for the financial services industry to the SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3 reports, which are the auditor-to-auditor reports used by firms when they make their financial commitments on an annual basis, and government auditors as well. So in the US we have FedRAMP, in Australia we have IRAP. All around the globe there are different government compliance programs, and in order to operate this global platform we operate under all those regimes, and any changes or improvements we need to make the platform comply with a security regime, that becomes a general property of the platform. We never build like a special version of the cloud for special purposes. In general, every improvement we make benefits all our customers in all our regions, even if the requirement is coming from a local requirement. So in the last 2 or 3 years that we've really turned the corner, and now customers who use us, build on us, understand our platform, they see cloud as a big security advantage. It's not just, oh, cloud security is good enough and I get all these other nice benefits. They're telling us and they're experiencing that they get some big improvements in security. Now you say, why would cloud be more secure than my on-premises environments? And there's a lot of reasons I could give. I think I'll boil it down to 3 primary reasons. Number 1 is visibility. You're working in a software-defined infrastructure. So everything that you do in this world, you create through APIs. Now you may be clicking through a console, so there might be some human interaction or typing commands at a command line, or writing software. Any of those methodologies in the end reduces to an API being called, which changes the state of this virtual infrastructure. And all of those state changes are, first of all, software changes, right? There's a database somewhere that's recording all of the APIs that you make, and then that system is creating a workflow that then creates a physical change or a change in the virtual infrastructure that's creating a server, creating a network, creating a subnet, creating a route table, whatever it may be doing. It's software defined, it's being driven by software. Therefore, there's a perfectly accurate copy in a database of all of the things about the information state of the cloud. So not only do you have the ability to do a describe call to just say, look, show me, list everything that I have in this region, or show me every copy of this database, or show me what all my backups are. You have this type of visibility. But we even have services that maintain historical state as well. So it's been historically in a traditional data center, it's extremely hard to run and manage and keep accurate your configuration management database. So to actually know what you have is extremely difficult. I was in Germany a couple of weeks ago at our Berlin summit talking to a customer, and he said he remembers vividly being in a meeting 2 years ago, major German company. They were about to talk about some kind of a security plan, and the auditors came in and said, we've just done an audit of your DMZ and you have 1,100 servers that no one knows what they're there for. And that sounds crazy, but it's not that unusual. And they don't, okay, well, can we turn them off? I don't know. Can we? Something horrible might happen. This is not uncommon in physical infrastructure to have a lack of the discipline needed to keep track of every single thing in there. Not only that, but there's a tendency to put labels on servers and run cables between things just to solve some little problem. And over time, these physical systems there's just an accretion of difficulty and problems that makes security very difficult, because if you don't know you have something, you can't secure it. In fact, if you look at the SANS top 20 security controls, the things they say these are like the basics everyone should do, the first 3 of those are about inventory. Know what you have. This is a fundamental property, a fundamental benefit of cloud is you get so much more visibility into what you have. We're going to give you very accurate information. We bill you for this stuff, right? So we're very interested in these records being extremely accurate. But again, it's a bit of a joke. The reality is it's because it's being defined in software. It's the software changes that are recorded, and therefore we have visibility. Another critical new property that becomes more universal is automation. Now, on-premises systems, you can build some level of automation around things like software deployment or application updates, et cetera. But what's really hard to automate is the infrastructure itself. So to treat the infrastructure as code, to use secure development life cycles, to use code review processes for standing up and managing your infrastructure. So you should have a software review process for network design, for changes in route tables, for all the things that normally people would log into with their command line and make some change that maybe wasn't properly documented. That all becomes a software-defined process. And so now there's changes that are required. Your security and operations people have to become more conversant in basic coding, some basic scripting, because you want to make these changes through automated processes. But once you make those changes and develop that discipline and develop a secure DevOps model, you get a huge benefit from that. And of course, scale itself is a benefit. Scale in the sense of things like availability. So, of course, one of the main properties of security is not just about confidentiality, it's also about integrity and availability. And cloud has a fantastic track record of availability and ability to scale under load, the ability to save money when loads are light, et cetera. But there's also big security benefits from scale as well. The number of servers under management by one security engineer or one expert can be massively more higher, so more efficient, because again, you're using automation. We get economies of scale operating at the scale that we do, so we can hire some of the world's best cybersecurity engineers and have a very large staff of them and give them some great challenges. But if you look at the ratio of people to servers under management, it's an incredibly efficient number because of the scale we operate at. So scale helps all of us in terms of building and deploying secure systems. Now, obviously, this is not a panacea. It's not magic. You still have responsibilities. We do a lot to secure your infrastructure. If you look at a list of a complex control framework of, say, 250 controls, say, under the US FedRAMP controls, we probably take care of around half of those, the things you don't need to worry about anymore, so your experts can focus on a narrower set of issues, but you still have to do your part properly. So you have responsibility, and you have to be careful and diligent and not make mistakes in order to avoid problems. But again, the problems are reduced. You have a lot of tools to make it easier. And over time, we've been doing more and more work to make your part of the responsibility much more painless, much easier, or automated. We provide alerts around certain configurations that look like they might be problematic, so we sort of automatically inform you of things that look like they might be not properly configured. So we're doing tons of work to make your job easier as well. Don't just listen to us. We'll just take one customer quote from, in this case, the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority in the US, which is the broker-dealer regulatory body. As you may or may not know, in the US, the broker-dealers are long ago struck a bargain with the US government that they would be a self-regulated industry. So FINRA is actually a not-for-profit funded by broker-dealers, but very independent with its own independent board. It operates under the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is its oversight body. And essentially, FINRA is basically the police agency of the broker-dealer industry. It's the place where, investigators look for strange behaviors of markets, look for improper activities, and mostly what they do, their actual operation is they run massive analytic databases and they look for anomalies in market behavior. So FINRA has gone all into the AWS cloud. They use both Hadoop-based and Redshift-based analytics capabilities, multi-petabyte databases growing at terabytes per day. And as you can see from this quote, because they were careful and did the job right and built that automation up front, their executive vice president says, from a physical and logical security standpoint, I believe that if done right, obviously it takes work, public cloud computing is as or more secure than self-hosting. So that's been their experience. So AWS, we care a lot about this market. We're investing heavily. We have a whole business development team, a global team for financial services, and we'd be happy to put you in touch with those folks. Lots of experts around the globe helping banks, insurance companies, market makers all become ready and able to develop and deploy and modernize on the cloud. And of course, a key part of that is regulatory compliance. So obviously, this is a highly regulated industry. You're not going to be able to make a lot of progress in your journey to the cloud if your regulator has no clue as to what's going on, if they're skeptical, if they question your choice or simply tell you, no, you can't do that. So a big part of our job as a cloud vendor is to work side by side with you to approach the regulators, make sure that they understand, that they modernize their approach, that they have the depth of knowledge and the ability to really make proper assessments of this new kind of capability. I was just, as I mentioned, in Berlin 2 weeks ago, and one of the keynote speakers that we brought up was Deutsche Börse, which is one of the major market players of Germany. And speaking afterwards off the stage to the CTO, he said it was been really a fantastic partnership because he said, for us to go in and convince regulators is one thing, but if we bring in our cloud vendor who has this more global perspective and is working with regulators around the globe, he said it's had a really, really positive impact. So he's very hopeful, although they haven't gotten past every regulatory barrier that they hope to get past so that they can onboard more of their core applications to the cloud. He believes that will happen. And he said it's been really critical to have a partnership with the cloud vendor. So I was really excited and happy to hear that. So again, in conclusion, this is the time that change is necessary. The markets are demanding that. The business challenges are there. Security challenges are there. It's time for modernization just in general. We have a lot of old systems that just have to be modernized if we want them to be secure and to be available. And cloud is really going to be, I think, a critical part of that journey. And so you have expert commentators like DTCC, which is a consortium of market regulators or market making companies, doing a report where they say cloud computing has reached the tipping point as the capabilities, resiliency, and security now exceed those of many on-premises data centers. And this is, I think, now becoming kind of the common view of the industry. So with that, I will wrap up. And I don't know if we have time for questions or if we have a question format, but I'll be happy to take any questions now or afterwards. Do we do them here? So look at the organizers back there. Okay, I guess we'll take a couple questions then. Thanks. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, so the question was about how do people get started? Sometimes people feel there are barriers. Without knowing the specifics of what the issue is, that could be acquisition, it could be a feeling of like I need to get permission from someone who's not giving me permission. And we certainly see a lot of customers create sort of sandbox environments with non-production systems to learn. They do training, so we work a lot with our customers to do training of developers and operations people so that they have the familiarity. And then a lot of people will make their dev and test their kind of first major cloud workload, because even if you're deploying an application on premises, it's very beneficial to have the flexibility and the cost savings really of having test environments. For example, I can stand up a full-blown load test for 48 hours, at a cost of a few $100s instead of buying a whole second copy of all my hardware. And then that, if you use careful discipline on your software, you can, basically cabin off your code so that there's a few things that are cloud specific, most of it's generic, and then you can redeploy that app on premises. And we have a lot of customers that do development in the cloud, deployment on premises. And that also helps with people who are concerned about data sensitivity, because you can use test data in the cloud and keep the production data on premises. I think that's just a step on a journey. I think you'll end up with that production in the cloud, but we're happy to help with those steps along the way. And so I think that's a good approach that a lot of customers use.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.